Is your training feeling stuck, stagnant, at a standstill? Are you having a problem fading the lure? Damn it, yeah. Well, fear not, my handsome friend. I'm gonna show you a proven framework to help you effectively fade the lure and add a verbal cue. Seriously? Thank you. Let me start by saying luring is amazing. It's an effective and easy way to teach a bunch of behaviors. For more on luring and how to do it, check out this video up here, and I'll leave a link in the description. The uses of luring ranges from training the most basic things like a sit or a down to more complicated skills like focus healing or backing up. Even tricks like spin, beg, crawl, roll over, all those things can be taught with a lure. With that being said, even with all its benefits, luring does have some limits. For example, you can't use luring to address behavioral issues like separation anxiety, or reactivity. However, many owners and new dog trainers are seduced by the effectiveness of luring. All too often, they get sucked in by the ease and speed, but they fail at fading the lure and end up stuck. For me, fading the lure means essentially weaning your dog off of any physical gesture and getting them to respond to the verbal cue or command. As soon as your dog is starting to perform the behavior reliably with the lure, you want to start fading that bad boy out. Otherwise, the dog will only perform the behavior with the presence of the reward, and thus become dependent on it to complete the task. You want to see if your dog's relying on the lure? Sure. Just ask him to sit. Try not to use your body to cue it at all, though. Sit. 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 Did it work? Well, if that happens, what are you supposed to do? If you go to the internet, they're gonna tell you to use hand signals. Early in my training, this was my go-to as well. It's both natural and much easier for dogs to respond to body language or physical cues. That's how they communicate with each other. It's also why sometimes your dog may seem to anticipate your command. They're picking up on subtle gestures like an eyebrow raise when you ask them for a sit, or the way you lean over ever so slightly when you ask them for a down. Because it's easier for them to follow a physical gesture, it makes it super simple to use the motion of your lure and turn that into a hand signal. Hand signals can be fine, but I found that 1, dogs can become just as reliant on hand signals as they are on lures. And 2, if the dog's not looking at you, a hand signal is absolutely useless. So at that point, to me, something was clearly missing. We needed a simpler way to move from the physicality of a lure to the practicality of a verbal cue. Well, everything changed when I was properly introduced to leash pressure. Sure, I'd heard about it in some Michael Ellis videos a long time ago.
So we got 2 benefits here. The dog learned about pressure, learned that it could survive pressure, learned that it could turn it off as its own thing, but also we've given ourselves a tool that we can use in all sorts of different places.
But I didn't really understand its usefulness until I started to play with it in my own training. The thing about leash pressure is that it provides a nice bridge between your lure and your verbal cue. It can help guide the dog without the distraction of the food so that the dog can be more present in the task. Think maybe you want to play around with leash pressure? Here's how to train it. Pull gently on the leash, find a point of tension, and maintain it until your dog gives in to the direction of the pull. The moment your dog moves and creates slack in the leash, you want to mark and reward. That's it. It's just that simple. Keep in mind, the release of tension doesn't need to be a lot. Even a simple step that relieves the tension is enough. Adding leash pressure proved to be ridiculously effective for making things more clear to the dog, and it drastically shortened the time that it took them to learn new things. Going through the stages of luring, leash pressure, and adding the verbal cue, it became obvious that we had some effective tools, but we were still flying a little blind. We needed an efficient protocol to get the same results every time. And that's when I stumbled across Gene Donaldson's push drop stick. This simple yet brilliant idea suggests breaking training sessions down into blocks of 5 reps. If your dog gets at least 4 reps correct, you push to the next level of difficulty in your system. If your dog performs 2 or less reps, then you drop your criteria and give your dog something a little easier. And if you can only get 3 reps correct, then you stick. Stick with what you're doing. Do another set of 5, rinse, repeat, and run the system again. So we've covered a few of these concepts already, but we still haven't gotten to the secret sauce. If you're still with me and you haven't glazed over, then like this video, subscribe to the channel, click the bell so you get notifications every time we drop a new video, which should be about once a month. All right, so leash pressure in conjunction with push drop stick gave us the ingredients that we needed to produce the current framework that we and our affiliate trainers have used on thousands of dogs at this point. And if I do say so myself, it's pretty terrific. This isn't the only way to fade the lure. In dog training, it always depends. But hopefully, these ideas provide a useful process if you get stuck. Here's the secret sauce, broken down into 6 stages. I got it in my beard. Okay, first we lure the dog to get the desired behavior. So L equals DB. We do this for 5 reps. If it looks good, we push. Next, we add a slight amount of leash pressure to the lure to get the desired behavior. LP plus L equals DB. We do this for 5 reps. If they're good, we push to the next stage. Assuming we're getting the desired behavior predictably with the lure and leash pressure almost every time, we're gonna go ahead and add that verbal cue in conjunction with the lure and the leash pressure. I see. Good. BC plus LP plus L equals DB. 4 reps or better, we're pushing on to the next stage. So in this stage, we sort of take a step back. If we're seeing that we can get the desired behavior with the lure plus leash pressure plus verbal cue, then we need to check and see if we can get the desired behavior with just the leash pressure. If we can, then we push on. But if leash pressure equals desired behavior is untrue, then you go back to lure and leash pressure, abandoning your verbal cue until you can get the leash pressure alone to equal the desired behavior. Here's the equation. Next stage, we're gonna use the verbal cue plus the leash pressure to get the desired behavior. I see. Good. In this stage, we're gonna attempt to use less and less leash pressure with every rep until we get to our goal, which is stage 6, which is BC equals DB. Verbal cue equals desired behavior. And boom, that's how you systematically fade the lure. Now this process can take a good amount of repetition for any dog. So how do you keep them focused and interested? Well, more tips on that in this video. Charlie's in the she went ain't. Charlie's in the she went ain't.